it's Memorial Day weekend. What have you been up to? I can't talk today.
Yeah, you suck.
I really do. Welcome to the Fellowship. My name is Adam Hawk, and here with me, working holiday dawn patrol, is the one and only Ryan Engle. Happy Memorial Day, pards.
Yep. Good to hear it. Good to be here. You love to do it.
Okay. We're tracking this episode at 6 in the morning on a day off because we are so damn loyal to the game. The game of not getting paid to make free content on a weekly basis. And we haven't missed a week since starting this thing last June. And we sure as hell aren't going to start now. So let's get to it. Let's knock this thing out. And let's be on our way. If you cannot tell, I'm a little under the weather.
We haven't missed a week?
No, we haven't.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. Even early on when you had a 2-week trip to Hawaii and I had a 1-weeker to Seattle, we taped 3 episodes.
Yeah, live to tape. That's what they call it in the business, folks.
Yeah, wow. You're learning after a year.
Yeah.
You've got the jargon.
The jargon.
We haven't missed a week, and part of maintaining and growing...
You do sound like shit.
Thank you. Part of maintaining and growing the popularity of a podcast is to keep up the regular cadence of it.
I always thought it was cadence.
Anyway, I'm a little under the weather. Nothing like going to an open house at my kids' school last week to look at all the crap they made this year that the teacher can't wait to get off of their walls, only to come back home and contract whatever virus was bouncing around that night. Look, it's the oldest take in the book, but if you have kids that go to school, you are essentially signing up to be sick 6 times a year. And here I am, sick again. So my apologies to those that have to tolerate my voice this week. Off the top, the 2 most important things we're going to say all show long before we get into the horse hockey. Happy Memorial Day, and thank you to the families who have loved ones that paid the ultimate sacrifice for all of us here in the United States to live a free life. Truly the greatest gift and one that we often take for granted. So let's make sure to keep the spirit of why we're all on holiday today in the forefront of our minds. Sitting in front of microphones and saying whatever we want to whoever will listen isn't just a privilege. It's actually a protected constitutional right here in America, and not something that everyone around the world gets to enjoy. So God bless all the people who came before us to make everything we all do possible.
You love to hear that,
don't you? The next thing that we have to discuss at the top of the show is the tragic passing of PGA Tour golfer Grayson Murray. Grayson Murray is not a household name, but we actually mentioned him on the show this year because he won over in Hawaii. This was a young guy, younger than Ryan and me, at the age of 30, who was living what many of us would call, quote-unquote, the dream, playing professional golf at the highest level and playing well, too. He made millions of dollars this year. He was on TV, and he was loved by his fellow tour pros. But over the weekend, he withdrew from the Charles Schwab Challenge in Texas, walked off the course with just 2 holes left to play in his second round, and that was it. News spread the next day that he had passed away, but no cause of death was given. And the tournament continued, which at first rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Like, how can these guys who spend more time traveling the world and playing golf with each other than they spend with their own families just continue on with the most mental game when one of their brothers, their peers, their colleagues, their coworkers just suddenly died at the age of 30. PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan passed on word from Grayson Murray's parents that they wanted the tournament to continue because they knew that's what Grayson would have wanted. And I actually buy that. I really do. And if it's coming from his parents, then who better with more authority to bless the continuation of the event? But things unfortunately got even darker on Sunday when his parents released their own gut-wrenching statement revealing that Grayson Murray had taken his own life. This is from Eric and Terry Murray, Grayson's dad and mom. Quote, "We have spent the last 24 hours trying to come to terms with the fact that our son is gone. It's surreal that we not only have to admit it to ourselves, but that we also have to acknowledge it to the world. It's a nightmare. We have so many questions that have no answers. We would like to thank the PGA Tour and the entire world of golf for the outpouring of support. Life wasn't always easy for Grayson, and although he took his own life, we know he rests peacefully now. Please respect our privacy as we work through this incredible tragedy, and please honor Grayson by being kind to one another. If that becomes his legacy, we could ask for nothing else." End quote. Whether you know Grayson or even just knew of him or don't know him at all, or whether you love pro golf or couldn't care less, there's no way not to feel heartbroken when you hear that from his parents. And there's a lot in that statement. First, it's been said a million times that no parent should ever have to outlive their child. And as a parent myself, 8 years into this, that is something that I would never want to have happen. But having to do that publicly, outlive your child publicly, as they said in their statement, is a nightmare. And it's another level of tragedy. And I only hope that his parents find some peace and even joy in the fact that their son was clearly loved by a lot of people outside of their family. But I think the hardest part to reconcile with suicide is a familiar motif that his parents called out in their statement. And that's that there are so many questions and so few answers. And this is why suicide is so heavy. We all have a deep desire to want to know what led someone to that decision, because there's a part of us that believes if we knew that we could have gone back and done something to change it. And beyond that, there's a human desire to want closure. And I'm speaking from experience here. One of my friends took his own life 8 years ago, and he was a similar age to Grayson Murray. And I'll never forget getting the news over the telephone and being floored, literally brought to the floor, wondering why. Why did he do this? And that was the first emotion that rushed in for me, and I have to imagine the first emotion that rushes in for a lot of people that deal with this. And it's the not knowing combined with the feeling that if you did know, you could have done something. And when you combine those things, it brings this immense amount of guilt. But I truly believe that these are flawed human emotions, and there's a bit of a God complex to it all. You know, this thought that we could have been the hero, the one to change things, the person to say, "I love you" just the right amount of times, and that we could have done something that would have clicked with this person and what happened wouldn't have happened. And that's what eats at you, this feeling that you could have done more. Everyone who knows and loves someone that has taken their own life feels this way. And that is the burden of surviving someone that commits suicide. And it leads to some really unhealthy and toxic reactions, like saying that suicide is selfish or that it's a coward's way out. How could I or anyone call someone a coward or selfish who was so burdened by their own life that they not only felt but acted on the incredibly lonely notion that they simply couldn't go on? None of us can relate to that. We can't even get close. To label a person a coward or selfish is to minimize their situation. And it's to put your pain of having to reconcile it ahead of their pain of actually living it and actually going through with the last resort to end it. Who, in that scenario, is the selfish person to prioritize their own pain? And who is the coward to resort to name-calling and labeling instead of attempting to understand? When I went to my friend's funeral, I saw his parents try to speak to the attendees, and they couldn't even get 3 words out. They were so broken. These were people who brought life into this world, having to deal with the fact that their son felt that ending it was a better solution than continuing it. Now, how could anyone anywhere go up to those people and call their son a selfish coward? You couldn't, you wouldn't, and you shouldn't. We all have to learn to talk about suicide in a different way, a much more loving and understanding way. There is nothing loving or understanding about calling someone in their darkest place a selfish person who took the coward's way out. So to Grayson Murray's family, I want to say that I'm so sorry for your loss, and I'm even more sorry that you will undoubtedly hear some extremely calloused reaction to your son's passing. And I hope that everyone absorbs the final part of their statement where they called for kindness, because it's times like these and tragedies like these where kindness is so important. Your thoughts, Ryan?
What really rang a bell this weekend was seeing a couple of Tony Baccardi stories. Someone who has firsthand experience in this just unfathomable situation. In reading his sentiment about it, he spoke about let's not normalize this general idea of it being a selfish act. And the way he explained it was to get to that point, what that person must be going through is just so unthinkable. It's not like a cowardly thing. It's extremely difficult, probably the most difficult thing you could ever do to even, for one, mentally get to that place, and two, go through with something like that. It just goes to show that this life, whether it's something as tragic as that or any other type of accident, it's never guaranteed, and it's not as long as we think, and it's never worth sweating the bullshit. It's definitely worth trying to help pick each other up. It's a struggle. I know it's easier said than done, but let everyone know how you feel. You got someone close in your circle that you know maybe struggles a little bit. Put a hand out. Let them know. Sometimes these bad things unfortunately happen, and the best thing we can do is learn from it, get better.
Really tough to segue out of it, but we will do our best. I wrote this down in my phone because I like to take notes throughout the week so I can bring it back up on the podcast. I don't think there's anyone that I enjoy watching play golf less than Keegan Bradley. He is one of the hardest guys to watch play golf.
Yeah.
He has an extremely punchable face. He looks like an overgrown baby with these piercing blue eyes and just this scowl. He's got resting bitch face as a man, and then he squats down like he's going to tear off a growler in the woods every swing.
Yeah, does he know that he can get the correct length on his shafts of his clubs?
I don't think he does.
Yeah. The way he sets up with his irons and how disproportionate they look on him, he looks like the guy who was in shape, had to get a suit his senior year for the ceremony, never was invited to wear that suit anywhere else again, and then like 5 years down the road got like a random invite to a wedding, and he's like, oh, well, I only have one suit, and he went to put it on, and he's just a little too big for it now.
Yeah.
That's the way Keegan Bradley looks with his irons. And then he's fidgety, and he's stepping, and he's doing all this stuff. His walk is weird. It's really hard to watch.
And he
gives me anxiety.
He looks perpetually pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
I need a quick break to honk the horn real quick.
Wow, you sound like shit.
I got it. 1 sec.
When you've got a really bad cold, everything rubs you the wrong way. Thank goodness for Kleenex tissues. Kleenex makes Ultra Soft our softest tissue for even our toughest customers.
So it's Memorial Day weekend.
Not to be confused with Veterans Day. A lot of people get these confused.
Not me.
This is for those who paid the ultimate price.
Right.
Killed in action, kind of the biggest deal. This is why you stand up and pay your respects. Because whether you agree with a lot of the stuff going on in this country or not, doesn't matter. They got us divided, fighting amongst each other, picking one side or the other, focusing on the theatric, when really, it's we the people. We're all brothers and sisters.
You know, everyone can agree that we're all looking for a third candidate, if you want to jump in.
Well, Tyler Steinreity, my brother-in-law, he has written my name in multiple times for the President of the United States. I've got some traction there.
Sure. And there's nothing like talking about the importance of paying the ultimate price for freedom and then having one of your family members write in your name during a vote.
If you think Trump...
It comes from China.
...or 43's press conferences were good...
Fool me once, shame on
Shame on you. You fooled me, we can't get fooled again.
Just imagine if I was doing them. I mean, give me a break. There'd be a lot to like and a lot to dislike.
It's Memorial Day weekend. What have you been up to?
We've been going for it. I moved the hose bib, got a new hose, did some landscape trenching, repositioned it over by the front of the house, and that was a fun project. I would love to see you try to do something like that someday. We've just been doing the house stuff, and then today we're going to be going down to the beach. What are you guys up to? Hit some Fullerton shopping centers and strip malls?
What does that mean?
I mean, what else do you do out there? There's no ocean or hills to go walk around.
There's plenty of hills.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Plenty of potholes, too.
No, we've had a great weekend. Nothing as exciting as moving around hose bibs. Funny you say that you'd love to see me do that one day, because we've needed to replace a smoke alarm in our house for the longest time, and we finally went out and bought the alarm.
And you can't put it in.
So my wife opens up the smoke alarm, reads the instructions, and she says, I'm going to need you to get a chair, a power drill, some anchors, a screw.
Power drill.
Yep. And I said, honey, it shouldn't surprise you after 10 years of marriage. I'm not really good at this stuff, and I don't really know what I'm doing. You know what she said to me? You know what she asked me? What's Ryan doing this weekend?
Wow. Wow, you love to hear it, folks.
And I said, what do you mean by that? And she goes, well, how about I call him and he comes and puts the smoke alarm up since you're useless. So I went on YouTube and I Googled how to hold a power drill, what bit to use for driving into a wall, which I did.
Don't tell me you tried to put this thing up.
I did.
And did it work?
It did, but I was guided by YouTube.
And how good did it come out? Be honest.
I think it came out very well.
If you paid for a handyman to come put that thing in and he did the job that you did, would you be satisfied?
Yes.
Would your wife be satisfied?
Yes. She was satisfied. And I was very motivated by her suggesting that she was going to call you to have you come down and do it. All right, folks, we got to talk about something because we have the platform and we have to get it out there. And maybe this is you, and maybe you need to hear this right now. Maybe you're this guy. But
if this is you, you suck.
Ryan and I do want to talk about guy who drives fast through the neighborhood.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't need to describe it any further, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. There is an appropriate speed to drive on a neighborhood street. Every single neighborhood street ends in one of two ways, at a stop sign or at a stoplight. Where the hell are you going at 50 miles an hour? Do you know that kids and animals are constantly running in and out of that street? Where are you going and what are you doing? Are you trying to kill someone? I hate the guy that drives fast through the neighborhood.
Is there an emergency? Do you need me to call the police? You need me to call the paramedics? Are there killer bees in your vehicle? Why the fuck are you driving so fast? Slow down.
And I can answer the question, where are you going? You're going to an intersection or a stoplight that is no more than 300 yards away from where you currently are.
Yeah. If you don't have a health emergency or atomic diarrhea spilling out your ass, no reason to drive fast. It's just disrespectful.
I hate it.
I hate it so much.
So much.
So much.
The way I drive around my neighborhood, parade speed.
Parade speed. Oh, man, that is so good. That is so good, dude.
And that is the speed limit for everybody. You heard it here first, folks. You will start driving your vehicle at parade speed in any neighborhood. Because I'm telling you right now, you smoke a kid and you end that kid's life because you just had to drive 50 miles an hour in a neighborhood that was going to end in a stop sign or a stoplight. There's a warm place in hell for you.
You know when you're like driving down a main boulevard and you look ahead and you see the light turn yellow? That's the point where it's like off the gas, coast, let's get to parade speed as fast as possible. And then some fucking asshole behind you just Talladega Nights right up on your ass and fucking whips around you and speeds up. And my dad used to always say, look at this asshole, just in a hurry to wait. Don't be that guy. That guy who Talladegas you to a red light, that's drive fast in neighborhood guy.
And we know where that guy is on his way to. he's on his way to be guy who bellies up at a chain restaurant bar.
Yeah, that is for sure. Chili's opens in 5 minutes. You know, they're just switching the menu over. I got to get there or else I want to lose my seat. I've been sitting in a seat for 3 weeks, and I just got kicked out of Olive Garden in Aliso, so fuck, I'm on to Chili's now. God, I hope fucking Chanel's working at the bar. I know she's got like 6 kids with 5 other guys, but what I would do to take her out to coffee and speed around town and slam my brakes at red lights.
It's so funny because we're coming off a podcast where we read an email asking if we're the grumpiest guys in the world.
We just hold on to these standards that everyone threw in the trash.
It's true, but I also believe in self-reflection and self-awareness, and I thought about it after last week, and I was thinking, why would that person who wrote in ask if I'm either the grumpiest 36-year-old or a troll? And then I started writing down, what are the things that I'm on record for not liking? Christmas, dogs, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day.
He's the grumpiest person I've ever seen.
I walked in and I said, wow, he's a grumpy guy.
Yeah. Grumpy guy. Grumpy guy.
Let me add one more to it.
Yeah.
'Tis the season for graduations. I have a take on graduations. If it's not a college graduation, don't bother. Stop with this crap. I can tell you from firsthand experience, as a guy that graduated with a 1.8 GPA, it's not hard to graduate from high school. It's not. You essentially need a pulse and some sort of attendance record that doesn't get you expelled from school before you walk. But there's no accomplishment in graduating high school in my mind. So why are you dragging people to some giant auditorium to watch you walk across the stage for 2 seconds? But moreover, it's less about high school graduation and more about all the graduations before that. Did you know that there are now graduations for middle schoolers going to high school?
What?
You didn't know that?
No.
There are middle school graduations. Did you know there are elementary school graduations at every grade? That graduating kindergarten is now an event? That graduating every grade up until you go to middle school is now an event? And graduating middle school and going to high school is an event? And graduating high school and going to college is an event? Did you know this?
That's crazy, dude.
So what are you going to do the rest of the day? You've got a holiday. We came in early to bang this out. What are you going to go do?
I got to pack up the van and pick up some stuff on the way home and get the family all secured and go post up to have a day at the beach.
Nice. Sounds great.
What are you guys going to do?
I'm going to go home and go to sleep.
Wow. I hate Memorial Day.
I like Memorial Day. Actually, it's one of my favorite holidays.
But yeah, I'm sure it is.
There's no gifts to buy.
Yeah. Perfect.
It's a great day. You get the day off and no one's hounding you to do anything. The world is your oyster. And I took my family out to see a movie over the weekend called If. Have you heard of it?
I heard of it. And once you said that this weekend, I was like, what? And then I looked at the picture of it and I was like, what the hell?
If stands for Imaginary Friend, and it's a movie about imaginary friends who have been forgotten by their adults. And one little girl is trying to repair these imaginary friends who can only be seen by people that remember them. She's trying to pair them back up with their adults. It was written by John Krasinski, who played Jim in The Office. And If is short for, if you don't cry like a baby at the end of this movie, you don't have a soul. It's a top 10 movie of all time.
Okay. I'm going to have to see it.
You're going to have to see it. And you're going to have to bring your daughter. Have you brought your daughter to a movie yet?
Yes.
How'd it go?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went and saw Trolls 2. She was stoked.
All right. That's going to do it for us. Thank God. Apologies to everyone that had to tolerate my voice and our grumpy attitudes. We will be better next week. Promise. Maybe. As this episode winds down, just consider the fact that these two guys woke up at 5:30 in the morning, drove down here to do a podcast on a holiday to keep up the regular cadence.
Yep. Cadence.
We'll talk to you next Monday.